Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here with Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness, and today I want to chat with you guys and gals a little bit about deadlifting and the so-called science-based lifting experts. But a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below and drop me a comment, I would appreciate it so much. Let's get over to the topic. This is one of those things where you look at a lot of these people who claim to be science-based, and their position on the deadlift tells us that they're not science-based at all. Right? They just make up whatever nonsense they want to promote their lazy, weak, ridiculous training. And that's what it comes down to. And the reason I say that, because if we look at any of the science, and I'm not saying exercise science is particularly good as it pertains to muscle growth, bodybuilding, things like that, we know it's not the best field of science. It really isn't. It's questionable at best, its ability to draw the conclusions it does. But if these people are going to claim to be science-based, they have to work with the evidence that they have. And when you see so many of these guys who say nonsense like, well, you know, the conventional deadlift is not a particularly good or a good hypertrophy exercise at all, you have to look at that and go, what are you guys talking about? Okay? There's no evidence. Let me be clear. There is zero scientific evidence to support this position. Okay? Let us be clear. So when they say this, where do they come up with this? They come up with this idea because, one, they're lazy AF. Every one of these guys are essentially biohackers. They're like, oh, I just want to train really, 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 really lazy and find ways to cheat around it and just get big anyways, right? Wink, wink. But the reality is hard work matters, and they can't biohack their way around that. So what you see with a lot of these so-called science-based guys, they'll say this, but I'm like, well, where's your proof? Well, because we have some theories, we have some hypotheses, because we have some limited data that shows on various muscles, lengthen position and stretch position movements producing better hypertrophy. We have some ideas on stimulus to fatigue. Okay, fine. So you have some hypotheses that are subject to a great deal of debate still. And that's your reason for saying the deadlift isn't a great exercise for building muscle. But what do we see when it's ever been studied? The problem is you don't have scientific evidence. You're extrapolating hypothesis. Okay? You've got to produce actual studies that show all these other exercises outperform it in terms of muscle growth over several months in order to make that statement. And the evidence for that just isn't there. There's been very, very little evidence looking at this, and what does it usually find? It's quite the opposite. I've only seen like one major muscle growth study on the deadlift, and the deadlift produced phenomenal muscle growth. It beat the squat when they were compared head to head, including the upper body group. Significant amounts of upper body growth. Okay? And that's kind of the point. People will say stuff like, well, the deadlift doesn't really build the back or other stuff. It's all glute and hamstring, and to some extent quad. But we know that it grows those things, right? We know that it grows those things quite effectively. But when it's studied, it grows the upper body. The upper body grew in MRI studies significantly from progressive overload on deadlifts. Okay, the same thing when you look at any form of EMGs. Right? So muscle activation, and I'm not saying EMG always correlates to hypertrophy as you know, your gold standard by any means. It doesn't. But it does show, you know, muscle activation. And every time the conventional deadlift or some proxy of it, you know, like a rack pull or whatever is looked at, what do they find? Things like lat activation are through the roof. Lat activation's through the roof. Okay? So the same thing, hamstring activation through the roof. The deadlift shows high degrees of muscle activation. The very limited research looking at hypertrophy, it showed profound hypertrophy and muscle growth. So when these people say this, where's your evidence? Like if they're going to say, oh, I'm this science-based guy. No, you're just a lazy piece of shit. That's all you are. That's really all you are. You're just lazy. Not science-based, because you don't have science to back it. Right? They don't have actual science to back this statement about the deadlifts. They'll extrapolate, well, this other stuff on stretch was, yeah, but no. Show studies on the deadlift. Show that these other exercises are beating it. Well, they can't because the limited stuff shows superior muscle activation, superior hypertrophy, and the few limited studies looking at it. Okay, how about the real world? So then we sit back and say, well, since we don't have studies, all we have is the real world, and there's plenty of really small elite powerlifters. Not really. Yeah, you don't see that. OG bodybuilders, how many of the best bodybuilding champions historically deadlifted, and they deadlifted a lot? Arnold Schwarzenegger, Franco Columbu, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, all had 600 plus pound deadlifts. Every last one of those guys. Every one of them could deadlift over 600 pounds and did. They all won Mr. Olympias. How about before gear became really prevalent? Okay, Reg Park, Steve Reeves, but even Reg Park, 700 pound deadlifter. He believed the deadlift created large amounts of hypertrophy. He was top bodybuilder in the world in his era. Okay, do we see the problem with these ideas? The deadlift is a time-proven exercise for getting you big and thick and dense. We're talking proven all the way back in the 50s and 60s. It was a mainstay among the champions. We've seen all these Mr. Olympias who did it. People say, but you can't use the anecdote. We have to use science. Well, all the science shows the same thing. So where are they getting this nonsense? It only comes down to, well, because there's no stretch position loading. The second you take that part out, and if anything becomes about mid-range or shortened position, we have superior tension in a whole lot of muscles. Particularly the back and posterior chain. Okay? Yeah, it's not going to build the best pecs and biceps. Sure, I think we all understand that. What about all these other muscles? Yeah, absolutely. It will make you thick. It will make you thick as hell. So again, they're not based, they have no evidence. They're not science-based. They're bullshit-based. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.